Is your team not performing well? Is morale low and turnover high? Are you falling further behind the competition? I'm here to help. I'm Shani Magoski, and this is the Leadershifter Show, where business strategy and culture finally meet. Explore shifts of all kinds required to build cultures of trust, engagement, and execution excellence. I promise I am not your typical boring leadership consultant, and I will help you and your team get your shift together. Hello, Leadershifters, and welcome to another episode of the Leadershifter Show with me, Shani. I am so excited for you guys to meet today's guest, Susan Black. She is a very seasoned travel executive who came up with the most brilliant idea during COVID for virtual travel. And of course, it filled a void in the pandemic, but the reality is it fills a void for many people who are not capable of traveling for one reason or another. This is a genius idea, which is why I'm having you on the show to share this innovative company. And travel is probably my very favorite subject to talk about. If you know me, you know that all I do is plan my next trip. I've been to 54 countries and 46 states. And by the way, I have still participated in some of Susan's live streamed travel experiences. So Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shani. I'm delighted to be here. I also love to talk about travel. So we have that in common. And I think we've got about the same amount of in-person travel experiences. So there you have it.
And I know your most recent one was Peru, which is somewhere I've also been to. And Peru's definitely in my top 10 list. I don't know about you.
It should be. It was fantastic. I got back 2 days ago. I will say that I was inspired by our live stream travel to 4 cities in Peru, including Machu Picchu. And yes, I did climb up. So, right? Yeah.
So you did the Inca Trail.
Yes, in Inca Trail, just one day, and then climbed up Machu Picchu and was delighted that I did not need oxygen at the end of it.
Oh, too funny. All right, Susan. So your story is fascinating. So give us like a 30-second look in the rearview mirror at your very impressive career in the travel industry and how you parlayed that into this innovative idea for Wowzitude. Wowzitude is a combination of wow and gratitude. Wowzitude. Okay, so how fun is that name?
Well, to be honest, I wish I could claim it myself. When we first went on our very first travels, and it was as a result of the pandemic, we call Wowzitude a COVID catalyst. It was because my own mother, who was 96 at the time, very sharp, also well-traveled, been to over 60 places, said, Susie, I'm going a little crazy. And is there anything that you can do given your travel background? I said, Mom, you don't have dementia, so how are we doing this? She was very helpful on Zoom. I called up one of my tour guides that we had worked with in my last, I was chief commercial officer of an Irish tour operator, and said, I don't know, can you walk around with a selfie stick and a mic and something with my mother and myself? And my mom said, wow, a lot. I said, that changed your attitude. She said, yes, I have gratitude. Wow plus gratitude. It stuck as Wowzitude. And that was the very first one, 2 weeks into the pandemic.
Where was that?
That was to Dublin. That was on O'Connell Street.
Okay.
Lovely tour down O'Connell Street, which was wonderful. We heard the buskers. And since that time, we now have over 80 local licensed guides in about who go to 140 different destinations within the past 3 years. So
140.
Boarding usually about 10 new destinations and guides every month.
Ooh, what's next?
Oh, you'll see. Well, I just spoke to a lot of guides in Peru. So we have some new places in Peru. Also, all we need to do is we make sure that they have connectivity through Wi-Fi. And 4 and 5G is ubiquitous at this point.
Yes.
We also conduct monthly training for best practices in videography, audio, and virtual touring because it's a very different animal. So we have new guides who are wonderful, and we're going to be bringing them on actually all over the world. We've got some really super interesting new destinations, including safaris in Africa.
Oh, well, remind me, I've kept in touch with two of my tour guides from Egypt. And if you need tour guides for Egypt, they'd be worth connecting to.
Well, you'll have to let me know later. We have a fantastic one in Luxor, but I'd love one in Cairo as well.
Okay, great. So sorry for the little rabbit hole, folks, but before I forget in my dotage, I wanted to remember the Egypt thing. Okay, so run us through the mechanics. So you do 2 tours a week, right?
Yes.
And they're 1 hour each.
Correct. So every week we do a tour on Tuesday and Thursday in the local time. They're live stream, right? And not only are they live stream, it is an opportunity to ask real-time questions of the guides through a moderator. So we have individuals and groups coming together from really all parts. We have senior living communities, people aging at home. We also have museums, libraries. We have tour operators, travel agents with their clients. Really, it's a whole amalgam of those who either are unlikely to travel, as well as those who are very likely to travel and checking out their next big place. And
get a little taste.
So you get a taste. We call it a taste of. That's exactly it. And so in total, the subscription, because it is a subscription model twice a week, then takes us to 104 completely different destinations in the course of a year. So it's a great way to taste things. Back in the day, as I like to say, we had brochures 100 years ago. We had websites 20 years ago, starting 20 years ago. And now, because of COVID, we have live stream travel with two-way conversations. So it really helps people either revisit or see places that they're unlikely to go. Maybe not everybody can climb Machu Picchu, but
right
up there, or really assess if that's a place that's right for them.
Yeah. I'm so impressed with, I'll say the word again, the void that you filled. New business ideas are find something that's missing in the world and fill the need. And this one was, it was an obvious void, but not an obvious solution. And I love that you're doing this and that it's thriving post-COVID.
Well, it was a necessity during COVID. We were all, put together. And quite frankly, had it not been for COVID, it's not so much that people really got comfortable with Zoom. It's that the guides hadn't worked in 3 years. They had no form of income. So providing them this and paying them a good fee, a very good fee, really helped out both. So they, they use a gimbal, which is a stabilizer, and a camera. And the equipment has also improved to the point where we can do this. So really it was all things coming together at the same time. And having, not being able to do in-person tours for years, it's a necessity of doing it. So now the guides continue to do it together with their in-person tours, but this also augments that because there's always shoulder season, low season, times that they don't do it. And it's right. Can keep their income going even when it's low season in their destinations.
Right. So people can go to Mediterranean countries in the summer when it's 100 degrees and they don't want to go in person, and they can go to Iceland if they don't want to freeze their ass off.
It's a first row seat because when there are fewer tourists, you get to see everything up close and personal. You're in Venice. You've stood on those lines. They're crazy. Now we go in off season. We get to see everything with no lines and nobody. Really, our view is it's a beautiful view.
Right. And I love that you've equipped these already top-notch guys with top-notch equipment. So it's a very professional experience when you tune into Zoom for one of your virtual travel experiences.
Yeah, this isn't right for every guide. Not every guide has that eye to do videography and the stability. And also the interaction. This is meant to be a very interactive, personal, even though we're doing it with, many people on the tour, Q&A is very, the camera will switch around. You'll see the guide answer it, address you. They'll say, Shani, yes, that's a great question. So it's very personal, even though it's to a group. And we have to, of course, always improve the skill sets of being able to do that kind of a guided tour.
Right. So riddle me this. I mean, I know the answer, but I want you to tell the audience. You got a city like Rome or Paris. You're not going to see the whole thing in an hour. How do you divide that up?
So it's a great question. We do it 3 different ways. The first thing is we'll do what I call the greatest hits. Yes, you want to see the Eiffel Tower, Sacré-Cœur, you want to see. So we go to those places, but, that's fine for kind of an overview, and we'll do those different areas. But what's really interesting, what we do really super well, is we look for opportunities to combine anniversaries, whether they're events, celebrities, personalities, with those destinations. So, for example, we will do a walk with the Beatles in Liverpool on International Beatles Day, which happens to be June 26th. So we tie it in with an event. So it's not just, Liverpool, it's a walk with the Beatles in Liverpool. So what we do is we can go back to certain areas and see things completely differently with a different eye each time we go there. And we tie in, for example, with Halloween. We have spooky tours not only of Salem or of England, which is the most haunted city in the world. And the next time we go back to York, it's completely different. It's a different kind of tour. When we go for the Christmas markets, for example, in Vienna, Budapest, Prague, that is a very specific time of year for a specific tour, different from when we may go in the spring and the summer, and the focus is entirely different.
I love that. So do you take requests for places that you haven't been yet? How does that work?
We love requests. We ask all the time of our subscribers. We have several, we have thousands of subscribers now, I'm happy to say. And we encourage them. We say, where do you want to go back to? Where have you never visited? And based on their requests, we're able to source. We have a whole department that sources guides, works with them. We look for what I call the greatest hits, London, Rome, Paris, all that. But we also look for hidden gems, places that people would never know about, such as Ohrid, North Macedonia, or Ljubljana, Slovenia. Beautiful, beautiful places. I can't wait to go there in person. Yeah, who would ever know until we went there? So, and UNESCO sites. These are UNESCO sites that we would know.
Sure. Okay. So, other than that, how do you pick new sites? So you get suggestions. Do you pick from your repository from travel experiences? Because it's not just like, hey, we want to go here. You then have to.
Well, remember, my decades-long tenure in the travel industry has been unique in equipping me because as Chief Commercial Officer and Chief Marketing Officer, I had to be tuned in to what the American tourists really wanted to see and do and experience. So I have decades of experience with that. So based on that, and also I'm very much still in the travel industry, seeing the trends, seeing what people are looking for. People, they want experiential. We'll do coffee making in Colombia. We'll do all of these different things that you would do in person. We bring to our guests. We don't call it virtual travel anymore. We call it just live streaming because that's what it is. There's nothing virtual about it. It's real.
Right. It's not like they're putting on a VR headset. Yeah.
It is of the moment. We say the wow moment is the now moment. And we really look for experiences where, wow moments.
Right.
You have to have wow moments. That is our guiding light.
So talk to us about wow moments. So certainly some of the destinations you go are so beautiful that you go, wow. But I also know that there have been some even more like wow moments on crack where surprise things have happened on tour. So give us a couple examples.
Yeah, we try to surprise and delight all the time. First of all, we pick places during the time of day. The blue hour, which is magical in many places in Europe where the light just hits the buildings at a certain time and we're able to schedule that live. And that is just such a treat. But we also do wow moments. One of my favorite ones was one that we did for lovely lady Hannah. We worked with the activity director Felicity in a senior living and assisted living community. Her family, her daughter, husband, and grandchildren were going to be in Paris, actually at Sacré-Cœur. And she was like, oh, I wish we could go. Well, guess what? We were doing a live tour, just so happens, when her family was there. We made arrangements with our tour guide and her family, and they were all together live as we were saying hello to Nana from Sacré-Cœur. So they were all touring together. Who knew? So we do these live moments on a regular basis. We also revisit places. There was this wonderful lady, Margaret, who was 102. She met her husband 76 years ago under the clock at Cleary's on O'Connell Street. Hadn't been back to Dublin in many, many years. And now she never thought she'd be back there again, and told the story to all of us about how she met her husband. And there's the clock. So we have these wonderful moments where people can revisit very special times in their lives.
Oh, that's so awesome. So, you know me, I like to talk about shifts, and you alluded to it. This started off with a target market of senior living facilities for people who, well, of course, no one could travel during COVID, but even so, as you said, they're unlikely to travel, for health reasons or mobility reasons or, financial reasons, whatever the case may be. So how did you shift? How did you even recognize that there were places to shift to as you started tackling the other markets you mentioned earlier?
It's a great question, Shani, because we thought in the beginning that this was for older adults who would not be able to travel. That, of course, social isolation was before COVID. It certainly would last afterwards. And with this COVID catalyst, this fact that all of these tour guides now could do and would do live stream tours, we had a new market there. And that's the case. That is the case. But we found out something very different as well. What we found is that as older adults were now going back to travel, going back to seeing it, they had now an opportunity to taste and test the waters and ask questions and experience a number of different places. And all of a sudden they were working with their travel agents, with tour operators, with others to say, I'm not sure where we want to go next, or will the cobblestones be an issue, or can I get around a day? I mean, tons of questions. And and all of a sudden our markets started changing. They started shifting to those that were likely to travel. So we have both.
Got it. Okay. And so someone listening or watching might say, well, aren't you a competitor to travel agents? Tell us why you're not.
Oh my goodness, no. As a matter of fact, we're the best companion to them in the history of ever, and I love travel agents.
In the history of ever. I love it.
People will go on a trip once, twice, three, the lucky ones, maybe 4 times a year. Well, in between, what are people doing? What are you doing? What am I doing? We're planning our next trip. We're figuring out where we want to go.
Yes.
We don't book any trips. That's not what we do. We are able to showcase the goodness in all these places, why you want to go there. And we work with travel agents so that it really narrows down or it opens up some new possibilities that then the agents can use their expertise and go through booking. But, you always want an educated consumer that comes to you with ideas and thoughts. Either, they get it from magazines, here's just another place to be inspired. So
right. It's a sales tool for them, in other words.
Sales tool. It's a fantastic subscription. And they say, here's all the places. When you think of where you want to go, let's talk about how you want to go and what's right for you.
I love it. So I like to take TV timeouts to just address the leader shifter universe. Think outside the box like Susan did. And it might not have been obvious to partner with travel agents, because like I said, on first blush, you might think, oh, well, if they can travel virtually, maybe they're not going to do the real trip. And so the travel agent loses out. Couldn't be further from the case. And so if you're an entrepreneur or you're someone in product development or partnership development, look at places you didn't think are candidates and question that belief. Because I feel like that's what you did, Susan.
That's exactly right. And we also found out that travel agents are always looking for additional revenue streams. So what could be better than selling subscriptions or recommending it to their already built-in customers? And some travel agents that we work with say, look, if you book with me in the course of a year, I'll pay for the first 3 months. It's the lowest cost customer acquisition they have. So now if somebody doesn't pay, well, they've already gotten the commission for selling the, so it's a win-win. So and we found new markets to incentivize the referrers, the sellers, and their customer base. By the way, another big area for us is alumni. Now, yes, alumni go on alumni travel groups, et cetera, but not everybody can go on it. They can't afford it. Maybe they have mobility issues, age-related illnesses. We don't know. But the point is, this is inclusive. Now, everybody from that university can travel together, and some may want to do in-person group tours, and some may not. So, but it's inclusive that everyone can travel together.
I love it. Well, and I'm not the only one that loves it, because you and Wowzitude have been bombarded with accolades, and I'll just name a few. The 2022 Think Global Award for Travel Creative Ingenuity, 2023 Top Small Business Big Wins from Barclays, the AARP Innovation Labs Audience Choice Awards, and I could go on. How good does that feel?
It feels great. You know, as an entrepreneur, you know, you always love to get the goodness. You know, we're always trying to improve the product. We're always trying to see what's the best markets to go into. And when you get that incredible validation from external sources, including being in Goldman Sachs Accelerator Group or any of the others that we've been chosen to be in Mass Challenge, it's such a great validation because you hear from other entrepreneurs or other people who are looking at small businesses or startups. It's a really good idea. And you've got a model that makes sense. We are profitable. We've been profitable pretty much since day one. And we are just on a growth trajectory.
Right. I mean, you've been in business for less than 3 years. I'd started up during the pandemic. That's amazing. Profitable since startup. It's like, where do you sign up for that?
Well, I mean, remember, with my years of experience, that's where experience matters. I've worked with a lot of companies. I've seen some of the business models that have been challenged. We were fortunate to bootstrap, and we have a team that's very dedicated and passionate. And we just pour the money, we keep reinvesting the money that we make into the product and into people. And so we have managed growth. And so we've been fortunate that we don't, at this point, need to find external funding, but we'll see where our growth takes us.
Right. So I'm curious about the culture of Wowzitude because it's such a fun product. Like, do you guys sit in team meetings and just talk about travel and forget to talk about business? Like, what's the culture?
Nothing better than talking about travel every day of my life. I mean, you know, that's a lot. I wish I could tell you all the thank yous and this is great of it. I mean, it's a drug. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
We have a great culture at Wowzitude. We have a small and dedicated team, but we also work with over 80 guides from all different cultures, all different backgrounds. And we have to have them love us because our competition is not another live stream company, but it is in-person touring where there are all sorts of things. So we have to make sure that we are respectful, that we honor, that we work with, and it makes sense financially as well, to these 80 plus guides. So we have our internal staff, we have all of our referrers, and then we also have all of our guides. So it's a pretty big group of people that we are working with, training and everything else. But yes, we get to talk about what's kind of the cool places that we think our audience, you know, would like to see. Like on Frank Sinatra's birthday, why don't we go to Hoboken and kind of walk in the right? So we have all these really super cool things that we do, and culturally. We go to a lot of places, you know, right now we're in the fall. Yes, people go to Israel, to go to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, et cetera, et cetera. But how fun to do a sukkah hop, right? live stream and just go from one to the next. Most people have never even been in one. So this is something
Right.
we can introduce to people. And we have the same thing in Prague and the same thing in Budapest. Really, wherever we go, we're always looking at the culture, the people, the food. We have trip kits that go with every single tour where we have recipes, and the recipes come from our guides. It's what their grandmother made. So for a fully immersive experience, you can make the recipe. And of course, I always like to go to tours with a cocktail in hand. So we have all of the cocktails. So you'll be with that Aperol Spritz, when you're in at one of the cities that we go to in Italy. So, and Mama's pasta, which is very different than any other pasta that you get in Ravenna, which is very different than what you'll have in Rome. So, it's fun. It's immersive. We really want to entice all the senses.
So what you alluded to this, people giving you lots of thank yous and so forth. Is there some specific feedback that just really touched your heart over these 3 years?
Yes, and we have this collection of what we call travel stories on our site as well, because we want to amplify it. We ask, particularly our senior living communities and others, what was so special about this? And it's not sometimes just the places they go, it's the fact that they travel together. They find a commonality in travel. We have a story of two women who reluctantly went into assisted living. They really needed at that point the extra help. They both found that they shared a passion for travel. They had lost their husbands. They had a passion for travel. And they have organized book club, movie club, everything, because we give those recommendations around wherever we're going. And so they've bonded over travel. They're not bingo people, they're travel people. And, the two women have become besties. They love where they're living, and they are the queens of travel. And we get a lot of feedback from them, and we get a lot of suggestions about where to go to next. But that's the type of thing when we hear that we can really tap into lifelong learners, what we call the culturally curious. That's
right.
the market. It doesn't matter whether you can travel or can travel. If you continue to be culturally curious, you're our people.
Absolutely. All right. So how do people sign up for a subscription or even buy subscriptions as gifts? Because, hello, the holidays are going to be here before we know it.
It's a wonderful gift. We have a minimum of a 3-month subscription, and then it goes month to month. We make it super affordable because we want it to go to as many people as possible. And we have a lot of groups and individuals doing it together. Tours are as little as $6 each. Yes, you heard that right, $6, because remember, we have a number of people going on these tours and we pay our guides very, very well.
Sorry to interrupt, but shame on Starbucks. My latte costs more than $6 now.
I know, right?
Anyway.
For groups of any size, it's $11. For groups you can have a group of 50. Divide that by 11. It's less than a Starbucks. So, we make it affordable. We want to go to as many places as possible. We do also have licensing partners. We have sponsors. We have others. There's a lot of ways that we have revenue. But for the subscriber, either an individual at home, we call it a household subscriber, or a group subscriber, it is on a month basis. 3 months minimum, because we want to give 24 tours at least. And it is, less than that. I mean, I know that when with my mother, I was like, oh, what am I going to get? Another scarf? What am I going to get? So can you imagine getting mom or a loved one 24 tours, 3 months for the cost of what you would pay for a scarf? So that's kind of how we wanted to price it. It was really super important. Now, after those 3 months, we bill month to month, and you can cancel for any reason at any time if it's not a good fit. I'm happy to say that our cancellation rate hovers at around 4%.
Oh, great.
People really love it once they do it. Our greatest challenge is really awareness, people knowing what it is, because it's like, oh, is it virtual reality? Is it YouTube?
Right.
No, it's live stream, and you get to ask questions. You've got to really experience it. And that's what we encourage people to do.
Oh, so great. So the website is Wowzitude.com. Why don't you just spell it just in case?
I'll spell it because, I didn't think about the spelling at the time. To me, it was natural, but it's WOW. Remember, it always starts with wow.
Wow.
WOWZITUDE. ZITUDE. Wowzitude.com. There's always a wow in your life. And everybody, people love traveling any place. Next week, we are going to Budapest and Galway.
Oh, I love both of those cities.
About going there. Anybody who's been to, we're going to be going to a pub in Galway. We're going to be taking requests from musicians. What do you want to hear?
Galway Girl by Ed Sheeran.
Well, maybe. There you go. You got it on a tour. Make the request. So, and we equip our guides with extra money to tip, buskers and all sorts of things. So we always want to do this kind of wow thing whenever we can. So we're very excited about it. And we've got some amazing trips coming up because we always try to outdo each other. I will say today and yesterday, we just did 2 tours for 9/11. I just came out from it. And it was very poignant because in 3 days, it is 9/11. So as everybody's watching the TV programs commemorating and in memory of this, we will be having, the backstories, all the backstories of 9/11. So, and by the way,
you went to the memorial on one of the tours, didn't you?
Correct. Well, that's
I thought I saw that. Yeah.
Memorial. So it's with a very knowledgeable guide who's been doing it for 9 years and really does it in a beautiful way and showing pictures and all the rest of that. So really super.
Interesting note to end on 9/11.
Well, we really try to make things very relevant. We try to make things work for most people. And again, we love getting, suggestions. We'd like to get another 140 places to go to. So, but we go to Yellowstone. You name it. We go to Australian bush.
The 6 continents, I'm guessing, right?
Pardon?
6 continents.
We go to all the continents. The only one that's challenging is Asia because of the time difference.
Well, what about, Antarctica? You've been?
We haven't been there. We've been to Reykjavik, to Iceland, especially when the volcanoes were erupting. We were there for that. Try to also work with underserved guides in underserved areas in Africa, in places in South America. We pay them the same as all our guides. And in many of the cases, the subscription rates and the money that we pay really supports an entire family, sometimes an entire group. So we're very much focused on ESG and DEI. We're very much focused on responsible tourism. Tourism doesn't affect anything. We're not adding any, we have no carbon offset. So we have of goodness to responsible tourism as well.
Great. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, even if you're not quite the travel bug that I am. But if you're an entrepreneur, really take some inspiration from what Susan did. Identified a need, did something about it right away, sort of a beta test, if you will, and acted. If you've got an idea, there's no time like the present, because if you don't do it, someone else will. So to me, that's one of the messages from today is don't wait. Susan didn't wait to launch the company until she had 104 different locations and 80 something guides. She started small and built. It's okay to build the airplane as it's flying, sort of pun not intended, but intended, right? So that, to me, that's one of the things.
Our business model several times along the way, but we only knew that by doing it. I can't agree more with what you're saying. The slogan of Nike, "Just do it," is never more true than when you're being an entrepreneur. You're trying things, you're getting feedback. Never forget to ask people what they think. A lot of entrepreneurs don't do that. We kind of all get in our little bubbles. But ask people, say what you like, what don't you like? How do we change things? It's a work in progress, still a work in progress. There's so many opportunities that we have and so many that we haven't touched yet that it's exciting for us, for our subscribers, for our sponsors moving forward to see where this takes us.
So one last question. Having worked with you for 2 modules in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, I know that you had to work on a strategic plan and your vision. So where do you see Wowzitude in 2-3 years?
So great you asked that question. And by the way, I will look for Goldman Sachs Small Business, 10,000 Small Business, an amazing experience, has opened up my eyes, and the growth opportunities are ginormous. Plus the people I met there, unbelievable. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Faculty. So thank you. I would say that our biggest growth opportunity, at least what we've put in there right now, is in this referral program. We find that having a very organized and operationally sound referral system, because people are so enthusiastic, is the way to go. And really, who's the best referrers? It's travel agents. They work on commission. Again, this will inspire people to book in-person tours or not. They'll still make money, another revenue stream for them. Ultimately, we would love to work with payers, with Medicare payers. We would love to get as many people as possible. And our growth plans include evidence-based research to show how this mitigates social isolation among older adults.
Yes, it keeps their mind stimulated.
Mind going, keeps the spirit going, purpose, all this goodness, community, talking about travel, looking forward to travel, being engaged, talking, all this good stuff. And so ultimately, we want the payers to be involved with this because it is good for people's health.
Oh, all right. Now that's a great note to end on. Susan, thank you so much for being on the show. It was delightful to have you, and, keep up the great work.
Well, thank you. And we look forward to having you come up to more tours with us. We can't wait.
I know. They're so much fun.
So much.
All right. Leader Shifters, I hope you enjoyed this too. Until next time. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Go to theleadershipproject.com to sign up for the Scoop newsletter and explore all the resources from this podcast in the show notes. And follow me on Instagram at The Leadership Project and LinkedIn under my name, Shani Magoski, for inspiration and content about all things leadership. Make it a great day.